I absolutely love being a nurse practitioner, and as you can tell from all of my videos, I love what I do. And now that I've been in this role for almost 3 years now, I can tell you the exact reasons why I love being a nurse practitioner compared to being RN. And in this video, I'm going to be giving you those reasons, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel, LifeofaPsychNP. If you are new to this channel, let me formally introduce myself. I'm Darty. I'm a board-certified psychiatric nurse practitioner, and in this channel, I go over several different subjects to educate the public about mental health, ways to improve your lifestyle, topics related to nursing, nurse practitioners, and specifically psychiatric nurse practitioners like myself. So if you are interested in any of these topics, feel free to subscribe. Make sure you like this video because it helps me out so much, and follow me on Instagram at LifeofaPsychNP. So you probably clicked this video because you're interested in finding out why I absolutely love being a nurse practitioner compared to being an RN. And I'm not saying everyone's meant to be an NP, and I'm not saying everyone's meant to stay as an RN. You want to be able to open up your mind and be able to open up ideas in your head to be able to explore different career options. And I'm not saying just being an RN is bad or becoming an NP right away is bad. You have to figure out what's best for you. And I wanted to give you my opinion on why I love being a nurse practitioner compared to being an RN, just so it can kind of get your mind turning, or the wheels turning in your mind, in order for you to explore other avenues, because at the end of the day, I want all of us to win. So without further ado, let's go over my 5 reasons why I love being a nurse practitioner compared to being an RN. Let's go. So the very first thing I love about being a nurse practitioner compared to being a registered nurse is the amount of autonomy I have as a nurse practitioner compared to the amount of autonomy I had as an RN. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, when you look at the RN role compared to the nurse practitioner role, we have a lot of say of what goes into the plan of care as nurse practitioners or providers. And as RNs, unfortunately, a lot of the things that you're going to be doing is going to be deferring to what the provider is saying. Yes, we take a lot of information and a lot of consideration of what the nurses say, but at the end of the day, when it comes to the decision making, we have to do more as nurse practitioners. I'm not saying more in the sense that we do better things or we have a bigger role. We both have our equal role in the patient care, but we have a little bit more autonomy on the provider side compared to the nursing side. And like I said, not everyone wants to be a provider, and not everyone wants the autonomy associated with their job because it can lead to stress, things like that. But at the end of the day, it depends on what you want. And in my role as a nurse practitioner, I absolutely love how I'm able to make the decision from the very get-go in order for me to help the patient and get them to where they want to be at the end of the day. So I love this fact, and I love this part about my role as a nurse practitioner compared to being an RN. So the second thing I love about being a nurse practitioner compared to being an RN is the amount of stress I had. So you have to think about it, and you're probably thinking like, why do you like the stress? And honestly, being an RN in the role that I was in a level 1 trauma center as an ER nurse, I was stressed out because there's so many different things, and I didn't necessarily know what can come in through that door and how I would have to prepare. But as a nurse practitioner, yes, we have a lot of stressful things, and yes, we have to take care of the patient, but I knew I can handle whatever came in through that door, because a lot of the times I'm in a stable unit, I'm working with patients that are coming in the outpatient setting, well, in the outpatient setting compared to the urgent care setting, but I'm able to kind of handle what's going on depending on the situation, whether if I'm doing a follow-up, whether I'm doing an initial evaluation. I'm able to kind of control some of the things and understand what may potentially happen because they're stable enough to be able to come into the outpatient setting. But in the ER, there's so many different things that you have to worry about as a nurse. You have to worry about the orders. You have to worry about whether there's a medical crisis. there's a psychiatric crisis, a trauma coming in. There's so many different things, and when ish hits the fan, it hits the fan, especially within the level 1 trauma center, the county setting within LA. Yeah, it's just a lot. And compared to being a nurse practitioner, as a psychiatric nurse practitioner, people are coming to the outpatient setting, so I'm able to kind of control things. They're stable enough to a certain extent, and I'm able to provide them resources such as the ER or a psychiatric urgent care in order for them to get the care that they need. At the end of the day, there's going to be a lot less stress as a nurse practitioner for me, specifically compared to being an RN and having to deal with so much going on at that specific time, dealing with meds, orders, dealing with so much chaos that you can't even imagine. And yeah, I'd rather take my stress levels as a nurse practitioner compared to an RN. So the third thing that I love about being a nurse practitioner compared to an RN is the way that patients treat me. And as nurse practitioners, they treat you with a whole different level of respect compared to how we've treated as nurses. And unfortunately, they thought that we were just kind of slaves or waitresses or servants to a point where they would demand things and get upset if they didn't get their specific way. But as nurse practitioners, they're coming to us as in needing information, needing education, needing medication, or whatever they might be seeking. They're coming to us, so they're absolutely polite, they're respectful, they love the way we think, they actually ask questions and want our opinion, so they are respectful to a certain extent. Obviously, you could have those outliers where people are disrespectful, get upset, and hit you, punch you, spit at you, or whatever. But for the most part, in the outpatient setting, patients are absolutely super nice. They respect you, and it's not like as nurses where they're always calling us, using the call line, disrespecting us, spitting at us, yelling at us, all the different type of chaos that we can receive as a nurse. And it's a lot different compared to being a nurse practitioner, where they have that level of respect and they're able to trust in what we do ultimately, instead of as nurses where they always want the doctor's opinions or the provider's opinion, as opposed to what we already educated to them as a nurse. And now that they're like, oh, I'd rather speak to the provider instead. And they kind of have that sense of respecting us because we are the provider as a nurse practitioner. So that's something you always have to consider. So the fourth thing I love about being a nurse practitioner compared to being a nurse is the fact that I get to make my own schedule. So depending on where you work, obviously sometimes you can't do that, but for the most part, we're able to make our own schedule, especially within the psych field, especially if you work in the outpatient setting. The beauty about our role is we can get set the hours that we want to work. So depending on where you work, if you're an independent contractor, you're able to set an amount of hours that you want to work. If I want to work 6 hours one day, I can work 6 hours. If I want to work 10 hours one day, I can work 10 hours. If I want to work Monday through Thursday, I can work Monday through Thursday. If I want to take a few weeks off, you can always take a few weeks off. And I'm not going to say every nurse practitioner has this flexibility, but I have the flexibility enough to be able to do this. And that's the reason why I love my role as a nurse practitioner. But as an RN, it was so set on specific schedules, set on specific things that the hospital required. Do you have to work every other weekend, or you have to work every weekend? It just all depended on the specific facility or organization you work for. But for me as a nurse practitioner, I'm able to do so many different things. I'm able to have so much flexibility to a point where I get to dictate what schedule I want, when I want to see patients, how long I want to see them for. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that's what I absolutely love about being a nurse practitioner compared to an RN. So my fifth and final thing that I love about being a nurse practitioner compared to being an RN is my flexibility in my role. So when you look at our role as a whole, there's so much black and white when it comes to being a nurse. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, but you can do this, compared to as a nurse practitioner, where our role's always evolving. There are certain things that obviously we can't do, but for the most part, we're able to work through some of the kinks in order for us to be able to provide the highest quality of care for our patients. And we have this flexibility enough to be able to provide care and be able to provide resources for patients so they can get to where they want to get to. And as nurses, we are so limited to a certain extent. And I'm not saying what we do as nurses is super limited, but there's certain extent of what we can do and what we cannot do. But as nurse practitioners, it kind of expands our role as nurses. It opens up different opportunities to be able to provide that high quality of care for the patients. And it's a lot more flexible in what we can do because we always have a collaborative physician to be able to kind of bounce ideas off of. If we need help, we can always go to them whenever we need help. If we need them to kind of look over the patient and kind of see if they can have better options, we can provide that as nurse practitioners. But as nurses, a lot of it is just going to be giving them ideas, but at the end of the day, you're just kind of forcing them to make that decision for you. So it's a really tough in that sense, but as a nurse practitioner, we have that flexibility in our role, and I absolutely love it. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I was able to shed light on what I absolutely love about being a nurse practitioner. I'm not saying everyone loves these things about being a nurse practitioner, and I'm not saying you have to be a nurse practitioner in order for you to love your role. I love my role as a nurse, but I felt like I needed to gain more knowledge, and I moved up to being a nurse practitioner. I absolutely want to go back to the ER side of things and experience that all again, but for now I'm going to gain my experience as a nurse practitioner, gain as much knowledge possible in order for me to help best take care of my patient, and I absolutely will do that, and I love doing that. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I was able to kind of help shed light, like I said, on this specific topic, because a lot of people have been asking me, do I love being a nurse practitioner? And yes, I absolutely love it. And these are the reasons why I love it over being an RN. As always, guys, have a wonderful day. Until next time, bye.